At exactly 6:10 p.m. local time, the lead pilot could feel his F-35 shaking hard as the massive thrust pressed him back into his seat, an intense mix of adrenaline and tension. That night, 8 US F-35s launched simultaneously from the USS Abraham Lincoln, roaring into the darkness, quickly climbing to 35,000 feet and heading straight for their target, Iran's South Pars gas field in the Persian Gulf. The deck crew had no idea they were witnessing the opening moments of one of the boldest long-range strike operations in U.S. Air Force history. The lead pilot's F-35 was loaded with 4 2,000-pound GBU-31 JDAM bombs, weapons designed to punch through reinforced concrete, more than capable of crippling critical infrastructure like offshore platforms and gas processing facilities at South Pars. The wingmen carried GBU-32s, smaller 1,000-pound versions that were still highly accurate. Behind them, 18 more F-35s flew in similar configurations. Every pilot knew they were pushing both their aircraft and themselves to the absolute limit. With its internal fuel system and external tanks, the F-35's combat range was significantly extended, allowing operations at distances of over 1,500 to 2,000 kilometers. Combined with aerial refueling, the entire formation could strike deep into Iranian territory and still make it back safely. Once they leveled off above 25,000 feet, the advanced U.S. inertial navigation system, integrated with GPS, began calculating the most efficient route to South Pars, maintaining near-perfect accuracy even in electronically jammed environments. Launching from the USS Abraham Lincoln, a mobile base in the middle of the ocean, gave the U.S. a critical element of surprise. Iran had no early warning until the jets were already closing in. By 6:15 p.m., the lead pilot had stabilized at cruising altitude and turned toward the Persian Gulf. Ahead lay thousands of kilometers of high-risk airspace, a complex refueling operation, and a target Iran believed was out of reach. But a major problem quickly became clear. Even with an optimized fuel setup, carrying such a heavy weapons load meant the F-35s were burning fuel faster than expected. Without refueling at exactly the right time, the entire formation risked running dry mid-mission, turning some of the most advanced fighter jets in the world into dead weight over open water. By 7:30 p.m., the lead pilot checked the fuel gauge. Everything was still on track, but only under ideal conditions. After more than 90 minutes of continuous flight, even a small deviation could have serious consequences. If they didn't rendezvous with the tanker within the next few minutes, they'd have no choice but to abort and return with all weapons still on board, a scenario no one wanted. Just as that tough call was about to be made, the tanker aircraft came into view ahead, holding at 35,000 feet. Crews immediately began preparing for one of the most complex aerial refueling operations ever attempted. Each F-35 needed to take on thousands of pounds of fuel to continue the mission, strike the South Pars gas field, with its network of extraction platforms, pipelines, and Iran's largest energy processing facilities, and make it back safely. There was no room for delay. The high-speed refueling system kicked in, pumping fuel at a rapid rate to top off each aircraft as quickly as possible. Every second mattered. They were operating deep in contested airspace, where detection and interception could happen at any moment. As he moved into position, the lead pilot spoke calmly over the radio, guiding his tens of thousands of pounds aircraft into place behind the lead tanker. Both planes held steady at around 300 knots, maintaining tight formation with near-zero margin for error, an absolute requirement for mid-air refueling. At the rear of the tanker, the boom operator lay focused inside a specialized control station. In front of them was the rigid refueling boom, controlled hydraulically with extreme precision, allowing for minute adjustments down to the millimeter. Every move had to be flawless. They were trying to connect two massive machines flying through the air at hundreds of miles per hour. Even a slight mismatch in speed, altitude, or approach angle could throw the boom off target, or worse, cause a dangerous collision. The boom operator had to constantly compensate for turbulence, aircraft vibration, and shifting air pressure. Then came the critical moment. Contact. A signal sounded, followed by a sharp metallic click as the refueling boom locked perfectly into the F-35's receptacle. Over the next few minutes, thousands of pounds of JP-8 fuel flowed into the jet, while both aircraft held an almost perfectly steady formation. This capability is what allows the U.S. Air Force to dramatically extend its operational reach. Without aerial refueling, fighter jets would be limited to much shorter ranges, putting strategic targets like Iran's South Pars gas field nearly out of reach. With the refueling complete, the entire formation could push deeper into the Persian Gulf, where Iran operates one of its most critical energy hubs. As the last F-35 peeled away from the tanker, the strike group officially entered the execution phase of the mission. Around 9:45 p.m., the Persian Gulf began to come into view on the sensor displays. South Pars, an enormous complex of offshore platforms, gas pipelines, and processing facilities, appeared clearly through the infrared systems. Everything was running normally, completely unaware that a precision strike was just moments away. At exactly 10 p.m., the target was fully locked. The South Pars complex stretched across dozens of square kilometers, packed with drilling rigs, liquefied gas storage tanks, compression stations, and dense pipeline networks. The F-35's advanced sensors and targeting pods were operating at full capacity, giving pilots extremely detailed visuals, even in total darkness. Infrared imaging could cut through smoke, vapor, and harsh weather, while high-resolution optics allowed them to identify individual structures from dozens of kilometers away. The lead pilot quickly confirmed the key targets: gas processing zones, high-pressure storage tanks, and critical nodes across the entire field were all in sight. These massive storage tanks and high-pressure pipelines weren't just vital energy assets, they were also highly sensitive targets. Just a few precise hits could trigger massive chain reactions with devastating impact. This was Iran's largest natural gas production center, a cornerstone of its energy supply and economy. Intelligence assessments indicated that disabling even part of South Pars could seriously disrupt Iran's energy supply chain for an extended period. And at that very moment, the entire facility was still operating as usual. Engineers, workers, and automated systems carried on, completely unaware that in less than a minute, a wave of precision-guided bombs would be inbound. They were about to realize that assumption was a critical mistake. After visually confirming all targets, the lead pilot gave the order to strike. He rolled the F-35 into a roughly 30-degree dive, lining up directly with the most critical section of the South Pars complex. The jet's sensors and weapons systems immediately shifted to maximum precision mode. Target coordinates were updated in real time, automatically adjusting for wind speed, altitude, aircraft movement, and atmospheric conditions. The goal: ensure each JDAM hit within just a few meters, near perfect accuracy in modern combat. The first GBU-31 was armed. Everything was set. In less than 60 seconds, a 2,000-pound precision-guided bomb would slam into one of South Pars's most critical structures, kicking off the entire strike. At exactly 10:03 p.m., the first GBU-31 JDAM dropped from its pylon. It cut through the night along a perfectly calculated trajectory and struck one of the central components of the gas processing system, where compression and separation equipment were concentrated. The 2,000-pound warhead wasn't just a large bomb, it was a precision demolition tool. The hardened steel penetrator allowed the bomb to punch through layers of metal and thick concrete before detonating inside. When the 945 pounds of tritonal explosive went off, it tore the structure apart from the inside out, triggering a cascading collapse. A massive gas processing platform, built to handle extreme pressure and operate non-stop, was ripped apart in an instant. High-pressure pipelines ruptured, natural gas spilled out, and ignited almost immediately, sending a towering fireball hundreds of meters into the night sky. But that was only the beginning. Every 15 seconds, another JDAM slammed into its target with near-perfect accuracy. Each strike was carefully programmed, not just to destroy individual targets, but to create a compounding effect that maximized damage across the entire system. The second strike hit liquefied gas storage tanks, huge structures holding tens of thousands of cubic meters of compressed gas. Once the penetrator broke through, the explosion triggered a massive fireball that spread rapidly, generating a shockwave strong enough to be felt from miles away. The third and fourth strikes targeted the control center and gas compression stations. Each blast carried the force of hundreds of kilograms of TNT, completely wiping out command and control systems. Instantly, the entire extraction and processing operation was thrown into chaos. Secondary explosions followed as pressure in the pipeline network exceeded its limits, setting off a widespread chain reaction. On the ground, security forces and engineers at South Pars were only just beginning to grasp the scale of the attack. Through his sensors, the lead pilot could see vehicles moving erratically, groups of people scattering across burning sections of the facility, and desperate attempts to contain the situation. But at over 30,000 feet, the F-35s were effectively out of reach of any short-range air defenses. Iran's defensive systems were primarily focused on protecting major cities and key military bases, not a sprawling offshore energy facility they believed was safe. The systematic destruction continued. From the 5th through the 8th strikes, the focus shifted to gas pipelines and critical connection points between extraction zones. Each JDAM was programmed to hit structural weak points with precision, crippling the entire distribution network. Once those key nodes were taken out, the whole system became useless, even if some parts were still intact. By 10:07 p.m., just 4 minutes after the first impact, a large portion of the South Pars gas field had been disabled. Massive industrial structures, designed to operate continuously in harsh offshore conditions, were now reduced to burning wreckage, completely inoperable. Even if Iran could restore parts of the facility, the loss of central processing systems, storage tanks, and main pipelines meant production would be disrupted for a long time. In modern warfare, just a few precisely executed minutes like this can shift the entire balance. But Iran's support network didn't stop at operating and defending its strategic energy assets. It had also invested heavily in building supporting industrial infrastructure, facilities that maintain, reinforce, and expand operations at sites like South Pars. And those were the next targets. At 10:22 p.m., with the extraction and processing zones of South Pars still burning behind them, 4 F-35s broke off from the formation and moved toward a new objective. From the air, it looked like an ordinary industrial complex, a construction materials plant near the coastline. But in reality, it was a critical link in Iran's broader operational system in the Persian Gulf. To some, using precision-guided bombs on a materials factory might seem excessive, but US intelligence indicated this wasn't just a civilian production site. Iranian engineers had modified its production lines to manufacture ultra-high-strength concrete used for offshore drilling foundations, high-pressure pipeline supports, and load-bearing structures built to withstand the harsh conditions at South Pars. In other words, this facility was the industrial backbone that kept the entire gas complex running and expanding. Destroying it wouldn't just disrupt current operations, it would cripple Iran's ability to repair and rebuild in the future. Through their sensors and targeting pods, the pilots could clearly see the entire complex spread out over several hectares. Towering material mixing structures, rising dozens of meters into the air, stood at the center of the site, connected by conveyor systems, moving raw materials across the facility. Massive cement silos and an electrical substation were scattered throughout, forming a fully integrated industrial network. By the time the strike on South Pars began, most civilian workers had already evacuated. However, Iranian security forces were still on site, trying to defend the facility in what was essentially a hopeless situation. At exactly 10:24 p.m., one of the F-35s flying with the lead pilot released the first GBU-31 JDAM, targeting the plant's central mixing tower. The 1,000-pound bomb dropped with high precision, punching through reinforced concrete before detonating inside the machinery area. The explosion completely destroyed the mixing system, production line, and control equipment. A massive cloud of concrete dust and metal debris erupted, engulfing the entire site. The towering mixing structure lost its integrity and collapsed, taking nearby structures down with it, instantly wiping out the facility's core production capability. Follow-up strikes hit exactly as planned. The second and third bombs targeted the cement silos, huge storage units holding hundreds of tons of material. When the JDAMs detonated, the silo walls were blown apart, releasing massive amounts of fine dust mixed with fire and smoke, turning the entire area into a chaotic, suffocating environment. The final strike targeted the electrical substation, the power source for the entire plant. Once the power system was destroyed, any remaining equipment immediately shut down. Without electricity, without production lines, and with no quick way to recover, the entire facility was completely disabled. The level of precision required to hit individual components within such a large industrial complex, while avoiding unnecessary spread of damage, highlighted the sophistication of modern targeting systems. A margin of error of just a few meters, from distances of dozens of kilometers, was what made the entire operation effective. By 10:26 p.m., less than 20 minutes after the attack began, The industrial facility had been completely destroyed. Along with it, Iran's ability to maintain, repair, and expand infrastructure at the South Pars gas field took a serious hit. Iran didn't just lose a factory, they lost a critical link in their industrial supply chain, a key element in sustaining their long-term energy infrastructure. And in modern conflict, losing the ability to recover can be even more damaging than losing the original target itself.